The show is fully listener-supported, and that means this free episode that you're listening to, it's available because of the generous support of people around the world who support the show every month or who send some help now and then through a one-time donation. It all helps. Every dollar helps, and it means so much to me that I am still able to publish this free feed, even though it is without bells and whistles. If you're interested in getting some bells and whistles now and then, but you're not able to support the show by becoming a patron, you can sign up on Patreon for free. And now and then I do drop something for everyone there. So check it out. Patreon.com/lesbianromantic. Welcome to the Lesbian Romantic Podcast. This is Connection Revealed, Part 42. September 24th, 2063. San Francisco, Fire Blue Territory, North American Province. 7:30 a.m. local time. Elle hit send and glanced at the clock in slight disbelief. She'd never expected to be able to send out this many orders. She could only hope that people around the territory saw them before. The door of her office finally swung open. "Eleanor," Ellen said as she barged inside, immediately followed by several other members of Elle's cabinet. Eleanor stood up and smiled at all of them. "I've been expecting you." This surprised her Secretary of Defense, who stopped in the middle of the room. The others did too, looking at each other nervously. Picking up her notebook and pen, Elle continued, "I'd like my books and other stuff packed up and sent to my aunt's cottage." "Excuse me?" Ellen said. Elle smiled again. "Are you not here to tell me that the cabinet is prepared to vote me out of office?" The secretary's mouth opened in shock, her cheeks pale. "There's no need," Elle said, smiling again. "I resign. It's time." The cabinet members all looked at each other. One or two started whispering. Not Ellen, though. Ellen held Elle's gaze for a long moment before asking, "Why?" "I've not been acting in our people's best interests lately." "I was caught up in my own drama," Elle said with a deep sigh. "The people deserve better. So I'm stepping aside. I won't make you vote me out of office. I prefer to resign if that's okay with you." Ellen glanced at Elle's terminal. Elle had expected her to be smart and suspicious. She would be too. Elle needed to buy time so that her last orders could be executed before Ellen put a stop to everything. "I propose you step in until the next general election," Elle said quickly. "It's unusual, but with the support of the cabinet, it will work. We can't have elections again so soon after the previous ones." Elle's words had the intended effect. Ellen met her gaze with eyes wide. Behind her, the whispering became louder and several of the cabinet members shuffled their feet. Elle could only assume they had hoped to take Elle's place themselves. How predictable. "Unless, of course, you would rather not, and you prefer someone else to take my place," Elle smiled. Ellen smiled back uncomfortably. The crimson flush in her cheeks told Elle that her secretary indeed considered herself the best option. There was no shame in that. Ellen simply was the best candidate, but only after Elle's last orders were executed. "No, I'd be honored," Ellen said, lifting her chin. "And I'm sorry it has come to this." "I am too," Elle said, but she didn't fully mean it, which was a surprise to herself. She addressed the other cabinet members. "I hope she'll have your support, ladies and gentlemen." The whispering and feet shuffling stopped. Someone cleared their throat. "She needs to get started as soon as possible," Elle said, although she was trying to postpone Ellen taking charge for as long as possible. She glanced at the clock again. Several valuable minutes had passed. She hoped the information would be copied and shared by now. You can have my office, Elle said and gestured enthusiastically at the desk, wondering if she was overdoing it a little. We have to consider how to approach this carefully, Ellen started to say, sounding more and more nervous. We don't want to make this seem like another attempted coup. Elle nodded slowly, feigning sudden insight. Good point. Do you want me to give a speech? Ellen looked at her fellow secretaries, then back at Elle. Yes, that seems like a necessary step. She sighed wearily. I'd like us to write it together. Of course, Elle said. I understand. And I don't think it's in the best interest of the people to know that you let enemy combatants into our territory, Ellen continued dryly. Again. Elle pursed her lips, thinking. I guess I could say I am stepping down for personal reasons. Ellen looked relieved. Yes, that would be perfect. And it would protect Louise. Elle froze. What do you mean? Arching an eyebrow, Ellen explained. Surely you see that if this gets out, it would look bad for Louise, too. Who would trust her after this? Elle winced. Plenty of people already know, though. Her team, the guards. Ellen nodded slowly. Yes, but they'll know you were held accountable and stepped down. Why make Louise suffer for something she had nothing to do with? I hope you're right, Elle said, rubbing the spot between her eyes. Her throat grew tighter as she realized all over again what exactly she had done to Louise. There was nothing she could do to ever make up for it. I'll make sure she is cleared, Ellen said, then tilted her head. Where is Louise now? Does she know you're resigning? Elle stiffened. If she told Ellen that Louise was off to see Michelle, any intention on Ellen's part of clearing Louise would evaporate. I don't know, Elle said, which was in part true. She scratched her cheek. As you can imagine, she's not too happy with me right now. Yes, Ellen replied after a moment. I can imagine. Elle glanced at the cabinet members. At least some of the women had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. That's personal, though, Elle said. I do still have a right to some privacy. She knew she actually didn't have that right in this situation, but she had to protect Louise from the fallout. She just hoped Louise wouldn't do anything stupid now that she was angry. Would Michelle still be a bad influence on her and ruin Louise's life all over again? Ellen turned to the members of the cabinet. Let's discuss how we best approach everything and make sure we are all aligned. We can do that here, right now. Elle looked out of the window, focusing on the trees, and smiled as she saw a bird hop from one branch to the next. She wanted to be that bird so badly right now. I suggest you go to your living quarters, Ellen told Elle. Elle's eyes snapped back to meet her old friend's stern gaze. Actually, I need to take Stucky out for a walk, she said. When I get back, we can write that speech. September 24th, 2063. Fire Blue Territory, North American Province. 8:30 a.m. local time. I should take you back, Louise said after a long silence. Michelle closed her eyes. She didn't want to go back. She wanted to sit here and watch this street, even though there wasn't much to see. Maybe that's what made it special. It looked like a place that only existed in old movies. A place that should no longer be able to survive in this day and age. And yet, here it was, putting everything Michelle had ever believed into question. I can't go back, Michelle said gravely, and I can't stay here. Louise started the engine, but left it idle for now. I know. Where do I go? Michelle asked, turning to face Louise. I don't know where to go. Louise met her gaze and nodded. Michelle looked deeply into those brown eyes she knew so well. It felt like coming home, but a home she had never appreciated or wanted until now. Thank you for showing me this, she added, attempting to swallow away the sadness in her throat. Louise smiled. I'm grateful I got to show you this. I needed that. For myself. Michelle tilted her head as she processed what Louise had said. She briefly thought that she was still important to Louise and that she always would be. But then she saw the truth in Louise's eyes. Louise had let her go. She was free now. I wish I had had the intention of helping you, Michelle said, but I never did. Louise chuckled. Good thing you don't need me, Michelle said, trying not to sound disappointed. It wasn't easy. Louise's smile grew wider. Too bad you're state enemy number 1. We might have gotten along just fine these days. Michelle nodded sadly. Yeah, but like you said, I can't stay here. You really can't, Louise said softly, but I might have an idea where you can go. The tiny hairs on Michelle's arms stood up. You do? Louise sighed tiredly. Give me a moment to think things through. I think I might need to get access to a terminal somewhere before we can go. Okay, Michelle replied nervously. Was Louise coming with her? For how long? She fidgeted with her sleeve as she waited. Then, with a start, she remembered Ben Garcia hacking the rebel network. I need to tell you something, she blurted out. Something bad. Louise's eyebrows shot up. Before I came here, Michelle hurriedly continued, I had a plan. Oh no, Louise said, frowning. What now? Michelle's cheeks burned with shame. I was preparing another attack on you. Louise's shoulders tightened. When? Is it still coming? No, Michelle said. Unless I never got the army leadership's approval, and she slumped back in her chair. I authorized an operation to get inside your network anyway. What? Louise exclaimed. Are you serious? She stopped abruptly. Wait, that's why? I'm so sorry. This was before I got into the pod with Jade and came here, Michelle continued, raising her hands in surrender. I should have told you earlier this morning, but— Stop, Louise said, sending a chill down Michelle's spine. Was Louise back to being angry with her? Had she already wasted this fragile new beginning? Would Louise still help her? I'm really sorry, Michelle said again. I wasn't ready to fully let go of the past until you showed me the street and it sort of clicked. I was holding on to it because— Someone is in our networks? Louise asked, looking somehow relieved. Michelle stared at her hands. Yes, but it's only a one-man operation, and if I can connect somehow, I'm sure I can shut it down. Who is it? Louise asked. Is it someone new or someone who's been there for a while? Her gaze was intense, and Michelle didn't have to look up to feel it. Yeah, you might know him, actually, Michelle said slowly. His name is Garcia. Ben? Louise chuckled. Michelle looked up, surprised. Why do you seem happy? Louise grinned back at her. I trust Ben. I'm sure you scared him into doing some things, but he's a good guy. She placed her hands on the steering wheel and reversed the car. We need to get back. I need to kick Ben out of my network, and I need to find you a place to go. You'll still help me? Michelle asked. I think this might just have made things easier for us all, Louise said, smiling as she accelerated. I don't understand, Michelle replied, gripping the handle of the door. I know, Louise said, smiling. This was part 42 of Connection Revealed, and there will be 50 parts in total, and I am happy to say that I expect to be able to share all of those parts of Connection Revealed on this free feed, thanks to the support of very generous people around the world. If you are considering supporting the show, please know that it does make a huge difference, not only for this free public feed for people who cannot support the show, but also it's what keeps the podcast going in general. I cannot create these episodes and fully produce them without the help of people like you. And so I would love to welcome you on Patreon with extra scenes, exclusive stories, collectibles through the mail if you're up for that, and all sorts of other things. So check it all out at lesbianromantic.com/support and find out all about the creative home of this podcast, the Bells and Whistles Theater. Thank you so much for listening. Like I say every single time, it is a privilege to spend time with you, and I'm so grateful that you were here. And I'll see you soon in part 43 of Connection Revealed, and 44 and 45 and 46 and 47 and 48 and 49 and 50. And if you can't wait to listen to some of those upcoming episodes, early access is always available for patrons. Right now, episode's waiting. All right, thank you, and bye.